Hello, everyone joining us. We'll give it a second to let people trickle in. Thanks for coming today. I promise Maliha is going to do a fabulous job. No pressure.
No pressure.
All righty, we'll give it just another second. Hello. Thank you for popping into the chat to say hi. Okay, guys, let's get started. Welcome to our March product showcase. We are so glad you guys are here. I'm Julie Kennan. I'm the Director of Content at CharityEngine. And of course, you all know Maliha. She'll be leading the demo today. These monthly showcase webinars are all about keeping you guys informed, showing you new features, demoing things in the platform, and also giving you the opportunity to ask questions of experts. We not only have Maliha here, we've got Uzo in the chat from ProServe, so she's going to be able to help. So any questions you have, throw them into the chat. Happy Thursday, Julie. Nice name. And we will be able to answer them for you. I will also, as I always do, tell you that what makes these sessions really special is you guys. A lot of our enhancements, I think like 90% of our enhancements are directly shaped by your feedback. So please always give us your ideas. We want the platform to work perfectly for you. So we welcome your feedback. Today, we are especially excited to unveil a major update to our volunteer management tools and then a couple of other enhancements we think you guys are really going to like. Before I send it over to Maliha, the usual quick housekeeping items. If this is your first product showcase, use the chat, ask questions, give us feedback. Don't worry about your camera or microphone. We will all be muted. And the link to the recording will be shared automatically as soon as the event is over. So with that, Maliha, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Julie, and hello, everyone. All right, so this is our agenda for today. As Julie said, we're going to be looking at some major enhancements to our volunteer management capabilities. We're also going to see a new feature that allows you to sync your calendar, your CharityEngine calendar activities, events to your preferred work calendar like Outlook or email. And then we're going to also take a look at ability to offer free event tickets. This was something that we were capable of doing before, but now it's a lot more streamlined and easier to set up. All right. Before I dive into the platform, one last reminder about the new UI. The transition will be happening on April 15th, tax day, easy to remember. So if you are part of the cohort that's been using the original CharityEngine, this is the perfect time to explore the new interface, get comfortable with it. After April 15, the old interface will no longer be available. Keep in mind that we did also update all Help Center content as well as the Academy coursework to reflect the new user interface. So those should be helpful as you move forward with this transition. All right, so let me switch over to sharing my screen. And here we go. I think you guys can see my screen. All right. So let's start with enhanced volunteer management. So with these updates, essentially there have been a number of updates that have been happening over the last few months, with a few that just came out. And so we're kind of putting them all together and sharing them now as one cohesive upgrade to volunteer management as a whole. And overall, what these updates are designed to do is make it much more easier for you to recruit, track, and communicate with volunteers. So several key enhancements. Number one, you can now, volunteers can now self-report their hours in two ways. One is through the constituent portal or donor portal or however you refer to it, as well as some out-of-the-box forms that are already pre-set up, pre-configured for you. I'll take you through those in a moment here. the ability to, for volunteers to self-report their hours will obviously significantly reduce the administrative work that falls on you. Plus, our volunteer posts, volunteer posts can also be used as shifts, no longer need to be tied to events. This creates a lot more flexibility with what you can do with our volunteer management capabilities. And then finally, we've also made some enhancements to the volunteers listing screen, allowing you to initiate communications, use some filters and initiate communication straight from that screen without having to go to different places to create lists and then move forward with an email or another type of communication. So let's take it from the top. I think the best place to start, if we're talking about volunteer management and creating opportunities for volunteers to sign up for, would be volunteer posts. So if I want to create some volunteer posts, I would go to events, I would go to volunteers, and I would go to volunteer posts. So this is my volunteer posts listing screen. This allows me to see all of the posts that I have already created. What's nice about it is that I can track progress towards meeting capacity. I know that, for example, for this post, I need two people. I see that I have one person signed up. This is a drill down, so I can click into it to see who that person is, and it allows me to see I have 50% progress towards recruiting the 2 people that I need. Each of these posts can be managed, where you can see a bit more details around post timing, whether or not post is associated with an event, and things like that. But let's start afresh here. I'm going to create a new post, and I will call this example post number 1. And this is going to be an active post. I also have types. Types are essentially volunteer post categories. They can be set up right from the volunteer post types submenu. I have a number of them set up already, so I'm just going to say that the post that I'm creating is the administrative office support type. I can assign a location. And so this dates field is where I would indicate the length of this opportunity. And essentially, if you're thinking of this as a shift, this is also where that information would be recorded. So let's say I'm setting up an event for tomorrow, and I want that post or that shift, that opportunity to be, say, from 9 a.m. So I'm going to move this toggle over to 9 a.m. And I want it to end also tomorrow at 2 p.m. So I'm going to move over to toggle to the 2 p.m. So it's a volunteering opportunity that's from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. That looks good. That's tomorrow. Okay. And I can also indicate number of people I need. In this case, I'm going to say I need 5 people. I can, but I don't have to. I can associate this with an event, but I no longer need to do that for this to work. If I already have a volunteer in mind that I know is going to be working at this post, I can do that in one swoop by toggling this off and assigning, but that's not the case for me right here, so I'll leave that blank. So if I save here, my volunteer post has been created. Once you see the green bar, you'll notice there's 2 additional tabs. I have my volunteers tab and my times tab. These are, you may have seen them previously. They allow you to manually enter volunteers and volunteer time, which we can certainly demo, but I want to focus today more on how you can enable your volunteers to provide you with this information. So let's go back and make sure that our posts showed up under volunteer posts. Let's see here. All right. So I see my example post 1, and I just want to create one more because I'd like to demonstrate how we add 2 of them on a single form. So let me just do that really quickly. Example post number 2. And I'm going to say that this particular post is 5. I need 5 individuals, and then I'm going to switch up the time. I'm going to say it's tomorrow as well, but I'll say it's actually from 2 to 5, just to make it a little more exciting. All right, I'm going to make it 2 and tomorrow, and I'm going to switch this, move this toggle over to 5. All right, timing looks good. All right, I'm going to save this. All right, and just since we're here, I just want to demonstrate this capability in case you guys are, wanting to see it. So if I wanted to add a volunteer to this existing post, it's simple as assigning contact. So for example, in my case, I can just add my name. I would search for a volunteer in question. I would select that person. You selected. All right, and then I would just save. All right, if I go back, I'm going to see that I'm now one of the volunteers that's listed in this post. If I want to add time, and I know, for example, this person has completed a certain number of hours, I can go to the 3-dot ellipses and manage that, or pardon me, enter time. So I can do that here. I'm going to go ahead and enter. Let's say I'm going to say that Melika worked today from, now my volunteer post is in the future, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can actually do it to resonate with the shifts that I've created, or to align with the shifts that I've created. So let me just do from 2 and then 5 here. Done. And tomorrow I'm going to move this over to 5 p.m. All right, that should do it. I'm going to save. All right. Whoops, let me see here. All right, so you can see now in my time tab, those 3 hours that I just recorded appeared. I also want to highlight before we go over to forms that if I look at the contact record, the timing will also reflect there. So if I go to a record, I can go now to record details, and there's 2 tabs here. So one is for time. If I search time, I'm going to see my record now shows those 3 hours that are recorded. You can see today's date, 3 hours. I can also see the volunteering posts that I signed up for. So in this case, it would be volunteer posts, and I can see the associated post. This was the example post number 2. All right, so let's go back to where we were originally. We said we set up some posts. We now have the post. Now we're ready to create a form. Now keep in mind, the posts that I just set up, they're going to appear on the donor portal or the user center automatically, assuming that you have that toggled enabled in the user center configuration. And I'll show you how to do that momentarily. And we'll get to that point, but let's take a look at how to add these 2 posts on a volunteer form. All right, so to create a form, I want to go to online. I'm going to go to web forms. I'm going to search and manage. For our newer clients, this is our form listing page. This is where you're going to see all your forms. Now I'm going to create a new one here, and this is our forms gallery. And you'll see here, there are 2 new options. The first option is the volunteer sign up form. This allows you to create a form that will enable volunteers to sign up for opportunity for a post. And then you have this other option, which is volunteer time entry form. This is a form that will allow you, or that would allow your volunteers to sign up, or pardon me, to enter their hours, to submit the hours that they've worked. All right, we're going to start with this form, volunteer sign up form. When I click on that, I can see the first prompt is to pick which posts I want to display on this form. So you can see I have my example posts here. I'm going to actually pick those 2, and I'm going to create. All right. So I'm going to apply some quick design to my form. This is I can see here if I go to design, I'm using my standard center theme. It's our most basic out-of-the-box form. But let's say I just wanted to make my form a little nicer. I'm going to go here to side background image, and I'm going to apply a photo, maybe some nice photo with volunteers. Let me see if I have anything. Maybe I can choose this one. All right. I'm going to save. Okay. And let me take a look at how my form looks like here. All right, so I have a nice form, basic form. I can see that I have 2 volunteer posts. I have first post, second post. I have the contact information block. But let's say I wanted to provide some more information here about what the opportunities are and what this volunteering opportunity is about. I would go to content tab, and I can add a little more information here. So I'll just grab some information that we can use an example. I'm going to assume that this volunteering opportunity is related to a cleanup event at a local park. So I have my big title here, and I have some description information as well as some key details about when the event is occurring. The event is actually tomorrow, so I'm going to say Friday, March 27th. We're already at the end of March, folks. All right. And that looks good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and save. And let's see how that renders on the other end. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh my form. It should pull in that additional information. Maybe give it a second. Let's see if this was successful. All right. Let me try again. There we go. Oh, maybe it needs another second. Let me see here. I actually have to open it from scratch here. All right, looks like the record was successfully updated. Let me go back to general. I'm going to click from here just to make sure there we go. So I can see my title is up here, event details, and then volunteer posts. Now, some of you may say, well, I really want the post to show the timing. Like, you know, in this case, I have a general event timing, but if you guys recall, when I was creating these posts, I specified particular shifts. Now, in User Center, when you specify the shifts as we just showed you, that time will carry over and it will be very distinct. It will show up like this, for example, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. But if I wanted to show up on the form, process is just a little bit different, so you want to add it to the title. So in this case, I would go back to, let's say, or actually, I've already done that. So let me show you an example form where I've simply added, actually, I'll show you the post. So what I'm talking about here, if I go to my events and back to my posts, all right, this is my example post. If I manage this, I can simply write here, "9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that once that saves, it will be pulled into that form, and it would look like something like this. For example, this is just another example of a form that's a little more stylized than the one I showed you, but you can see the shift, the timing is denoted here just by entering that information in the title of the post. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and fill out one of these forms. I just want to show you how that information comes through on the other side. It's similar, actually, it's exactly the same as it works for when you do it manually. I'm going to pick example post 1, and I have my actually information pre-populated here. So actually, let me pick this one instead. I'm going to do sign up. Now, I didn't configure my success page, so it just says success. If that's something you want to configure, that's easily done right from the web form search and manage. We just have to manage that section, that success page. And for folks who are newer, I just want to highlight that. I know this is a lot of information if you're just new to the platform, so it helps to see it. All right. All right, so to manage that success content, you can go here, content, and then success. So you would enter whatever information you want donor to see. Keep in mind, you can also create an autoresponder. So once somebody registers for an event, you can enter email message. You can create a template, either from the ones you already have, or you can click the double gear to create a new template and create an autoresponder that will essentially say you've registered for an event and so on. All right, So let's go. We completed this entry. We signed up for a post. I'm going to go back to Mary's record just to show you again how that looks like. Let's go back here and Mary. And again, just a reminder, so we're looking for, Mary has registered for a post. So we're looking for volunteer posts tab. All right, if I scroll all the way to the bottom, I'll see this is the post she signed up for today. Example post number 2, 322 in it. You can see here some of these, her status here is available or confirmed. If you click on this, you will prompted to confirm her status. So like this is usually for folks who want to confirm that these volunteers have registered, and for example, it's day before and you're giving everybody a call to make sure they are actually going to show up, they didn't forget. Once you get that confirmation, you can easily click that status to change it. All right. So that is the first form. That is the volunteer sign up form. And I'm going to take you to the user center to take a look at how that works. But before I do that, I just want to show you very quickly the volunteer time entry form. So this is the form that people, volunteers would use to register or submit their hours. So let's go take a look at that real quick. If I go to web forms again, I want to search and manage. And I'm creating a new form here. So I'm going to go to my plus sign. And now I'm creating this volunteer time entry form. As it says here, it allows volunteers to enter their time. All right, same situation. You would pick out for which post do you want to enter, do you want to allow them to enter their time for. So I'm going to pick the 2 that I created earlier. All right. And so I'm not going to apply any design or styling to this form. I'm just going to show you the most basic version. So you can see kind of how it works. You can see my example post 1 is here. My example post 2 is here. And a volunteer would enter their start time and date using this drop down. And then same thing for their end date and time. And then they would submit log their time. All right. So let's take a look at now how this all looks at User Center. So I mentioned earlier that if you want these posts to appear in the User Center, you do need to toggle that capability right under Online, Constituent Portal, Configure. Again, that was Online, Constituent Portal, Configure. And you'll see there's a new tab here called Volunteers. There's a lot of tabs here, and you can see in my case, they're all enabled. So volunteers is enabled. That means that when I create a post, it will show up automatically onto my constituent or user portal. And same thing also, not just for posts, but it will also, for example, if a volunteer has signed up for a post, it would automatically show up for them to be able to enter their time. So it's 2 functions. All right, so let's take a look at our example user center. So let's say Mary has logged in. So I'm going to just refresh here. I'm not sure if this is up to date. All right. All right. So 2 new sections appear in our user center. We have the volunteer sign up section and volunteer posts. Volunteer signups are all the posts that you have available that Mary has not signed up to. You can see it shows you what time and date. If there is associated event, it will show up like this. So you can see which event the post is associated with. If I'm to sign up, say, for this opportunity. Oops, my bad. Let me see here. All right. So it would be as simple as, all right, I've clicked the sign up button. If I click volunteer, I'm signed up. And what that does is it moves that opportunity that I just signed up for, it moves it down here where I can manage and enter my hours. So I'm looking at example post number 2. These are the posts that I've signed up for already. If I'm logging in and want to enter my hours, I can easily do that from here. And it's very much similar experience to what I showed you on the form. And you can submit time. And again, it will show up in the contact record as well as that time tab within the individual post. All right, a couple more things on volunteers, and then I'm going to take a moment to take questions before we move on to the next feature. So I want to draw your attention to the volunteers listing screen. This is when we go to events, volunteers, search and manage, we get to this screen where we can see a listing of all of our volunteers. So a couple of new things here. We can now filter by status, those who are available, those who are confirmed. We have advanced filters here that will allow us to filter by date, by event, by post. So let's say if you wanted to search for a particular post and find everybody that was signed up or confirmed for that post, you can certainly leverage those filters. But what's nice about this screen is that from this filter you can actually initiate communication. So if you're using this 2-gear icon here, action icon, and if I wanted to email these folks just to let them know that their volunteer time is coming up, I could easily do that from this screen and send a message. I can send an email, or I can enter them in a series. And the audience will be pre-populated for me. These 3 folks are the ones who will be pulled into that communication. The confirm status functionality is also available here. So again, what I mentioned to you in the contact record, if you were to click available here for somebody that's listed as available, it will change their status to confirmed. All right. And one last thing regarding volunteer management. I know that reporting is a big deal for a lot of folks. And if you're looking to generate a report that tracks hours, for example, over the course of a month, let's say you wanted to pull in everybody that has volunteered over the course of this month of March. So you would be able to do that. The best way to do that today is if you go to the People application and you go to Projects and Time and you go Track My Time. So now you can see all of the time that has been volunteered right here. And then you can also designate that you're looking only for volunteer time. And then in the advanced filter, I can use these filters to say, to apply a particular time limit. So time from, say, beginning of the month to end of the month, 31st. And then if I apply, I will see a result. Keep in mind, you also have the report builder here. So you can generate reports right from this screen as well. All right, I'm going to take a moment to pause here and see if there are any questions that I can address before we move on to our next feature. Julie, how are we doing with those questions?
Let's see. Andrea is saying, we have volunteers for ongoing programs. How can they simply enter their hours per month? She's worried that this is a little bit complex. She said a volunteer needs to enter number of hours per month for a program, not by time or date, just the number of hours for 1 month. How can a person do that?
So in that case, you saw that when we created that form, it's always going to be associated with a post. So in that case, I would just create a very generic post, like, something like volunteering time post, for example. And so you can choose that, and you don't have to assign any particular time to it. Like when you're creating that post, you don't have to say that it's from a particular time during a particular shift. It can be open-ended, but it will still allow them to report on their time.
Okay, if there's a follow-up question, just ask it in the chat. And then she was also wondering how you could send the portal to a volunteer who is not a donor so they can track their time. And Uzo told her that a link to the constituent portal can be sent to them to report their hours. But she was asking if you could demonstrate how you would do that.
A link to the constituent portal. So
that could be sent to somebody who's not a donor.
Yeah. So if you go to, so this is the user center link that you would send. And I think even if you, if they're not a donor, if you have that volunteer toggle on, and if they've never signed up, you can still send them here and they will be able to sign up and create their own credentials. So they can initiate that process. So if I go here, in my case, you may recognize me. I may need to do this incognito. Let's see. Yeah, it's recognizing me. But for example, if I log out, so I can create an account. So as a volunteer, I can create an account, and that will allow me to log in and submit those hours.
Okay. And then she said, is the follow-up on time still done by calendar and time?
Is the follow-up
on time done by calendar and time? Will you clarify what you mean by that? I'm not quite sure what that means.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I have another one. Do open volunteer opportunities automatically appear in the Help Center?
No. So that's a good question. No, you do need to toggle that on, as I mentioned earlier. So it's the default is for it to be off, because I know some folks, some organizations don't have volunteers. So for them, they may not want to confuse their donors by having this on by default. So, and for me, it's already enabled because I've done it, but for you, it will be probably disabled.
Okay. And can you just quickly clarify the difference between volunteer signups and volunteer posts in the user center?
Yes, absolutely. So let me just, let me see if I'm logged in here. So again, oh, I may need to log in. Give me just a moment here. Let me grab my credentials. All right. Here we go. There. Whoops. Should be in. All right. So just again, volunteer sign up is your posts that this particular person has not signed up to. As soon as they sign up for them, they will move to this section here where they will have the option to enter hours. So volunteer sign up is the opportunity. Volunteer post is, yes, I've already signed up for this. I just want to enter hours.
Okay. Any other questions?
Looks like Uzo tackled a few of them too, which is great.
Yeah, she did.
Uzo, fabulous. All right. Well, if any other questions come up, we can certainly take them at the end, but let's move on to a super cool feature that I know many of you will be excited about. You can now sync your CharityEngine calendar with your personal work calendars. So your Outlook, your Gmail, whatever you're using. And so what this essentially does, it allows your to-dos, your reminders, your activities, your follow-ups to be exactly where you manage most of your day. And so let me show you how to do that. It's actually really quick. You can do it in bulk fashion. So you can sync a complete calendar, or you can do it on an activity by activity basis. Let's take a look at first how it looks when you do it for the entire calendar. So I'm talking about here your activities. So you may have multiple activities here that you've set up. Mine are all out of date. You may have events that are coming up. And so this applies to your activities and your upcoming events. So we're going to go to people. We're going to go to activities. And you guys are going to see a new option here called Sync Calendar. And it's super simple. Mine is already enabled. If yours is not, you just toggle it. And what that will do is provide you with this iCalendar link. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this link. I'm going to copy it. And then in my case, I have Outlook. So it would be as simple as, let me just show you here. I'm going to go to my Outlook. I'm going to go to calendar. I'm going to make this larger. And so here you have this little section that's called add, and it's a little different in each client, but I'm sure it should be easy to figure out. There's an option from internet. It gives you this pop-up box, and I'm going to paste that calendar link here. All right. And so what that does, I now have a new calendar here called CharityEngine Foundation Calendar that's available, and where I can see in parallel all of the activities or events that I have here. Let's just move forward. I don't know if actually I have any recorded in my instance, but let me see here. If I move forward, do I have any activities? Maybe if I move backwards. I think all my activities are out of date, but this is where they would show up. All right, in my case, I'm not going to, and it's nice because you can toggle it on or off. And keep in mind that if you want only your activities to come through and not events, you can easily toggle that off, and then in which case you wouldn't be bringing your events forward. I know a lot of folks do want those events to come through because it just allows them to see everything in one place, but it's nice to have the option. All right, let's take a look at how this would look like if you were doing on an activity by activity basis. So if we are, say, looking at our activities, I can go to my home screen, or I can go to people activities. So you know what? Actually, these are all updates. So let me go to the activities listing screen. So I'm going to people activities, and I'm going to see all my activities here. I can filter to just look at mine. Looks like I have some pre-filters here that I've populated. I'm going to turn off. All right. All right, so these are all my activities. But let's say I'm creating a new activity. I think that's the best way to demonstrate this. So I can say my activity name is to call Julie to have a tasty lunch. Julie, you're paying. And then I can designate my time. Now, what's new here is also, I want to highlight this. You have this ability to send reminders now, which is new. So let's say you're using this not because for a meeting, but let's say you're using it for a deadline. Let's say you have a deadline approaching that you need to do something. Maybe you need to write a grant or whatever it is. You can now, obviously would name it differently, but you can now toggle this on. And what that would do is they would send you, I believe, a sequence of 3 reminders, like 3 weeks before, 2 weeks before, and a few days before, telling you that this activity date is approaching. So that's a nice option to have, especially when you have a deadline-driven activity. All right, so I'm going to save this, and I'm going to show you what do I need to do. I need to designate type. All right, I'm going to say this is a meeting, and I'm going to say it's scheduled. All right. I'm going to save. So what that does, now I have this, let me just make sure we go back here for a moment to see this activity in my listing screen. All right, I'm going to filter by to date. I want to make sure I'm looking at the one I just created. All right, so this is my lunch with Julie. When I put my cursor over the 3 dots, I have this option to add to calendar. If I do that, it does the same thing for me where it downloads the activity. And then when I click on that, it will open up Outlook, and the experience will be very similar to what I showed you earlier. So I would go to my calendar, and it would automatically open this window for me. I can select CharityEngine.net, my email, and I can import. And that activity will now appear in my calendar. All right. Any questions about calendar syncs? All right, let me take a look at here. We have Amy on the calendar sync toggle. There was an option to toggle on the sync events to your calendar. I'm curious how it determines what events to sync. Is it all events in the database or any kind of filter events? Like, it's all events, Amy. Good question. Correct. It's all the events in the database. So if it's something that you don't want, then it may be something you toggle off in your case. I'm seeing Andrea wants to go back to volunteers. I can certainly do that. Let me see if where are the let me just see here. Where I'm looking at Andrea's questions. Where are the settings for volunteer posts? I need to add locations. Is that only in events? Correct. So if you are looking at setting up your location for volunteer posts, you'll find it in the same events app, but it's going to be under locations. Please let us know if that answered your questions, Andrea. And if not, we can always revisit. And I'm going to just scroll back to make sure I got everybody else's question. All right, I see some funny comments. Let me see. What is included in event? Only events. Okay, I see. That's Amy's original question. All right. If I missed anything, Uzo, please flag and I can address. But it looks like we're good on events and volunteers. All right. I have one more feature to show you, which is our free event ticket. So our event forms now support, our event forms now support $0 event tickets. So when you assign an event ticket at a $0 value, CharityEngine form will now automatically hide that payment block section of your form. So it just allows you to do this process in fewer steps. I believe this was something where there was a little bit of a workaround prior. And I know we have a lot of organizations that have said to us, we actually do a lot of events, a lot of conferences, and we don't charge for these things. We want people to register. We want to give them the experience of getting a ticket, but we don't want to charge for them. And it was a little bit harder for them to do that prior. So let's take a look at how that looks. There's a couple of things that I want to highlight. So hang on, let me just get my screen in order here. All right. Oops, lost you guys. This is the issue of having too many tabs open. All right, I'm good. So let's go to our event forms. So I'm going to go to online. I'm going to go to web forms, and I'm going to go search and manage. I am going to be creating an event registration form. So I'm going to be using an out-of-the-box form to make it really easy on myself. I'm going to go to my event, form gallery, and I'm going to select event form. All right. So you can choose to associate this event form with an existing event or create a new one. I'm going to assume that I've already set up my event, and I'm going to choose an existing one. I'm going to choose this 223 Scholarship Awards Gala. I'm going to click Next. The next portion allows you to associate your tickets. I can see I've already set up some tickets here. I have a sponsorship ticket that's a $0 value. If I want to edit this, I can certainly do that from here, or I can go back to my events tab and go to events. And then I'll have there's a tickets submenu item. But I can see here, okay, this is a $0 price. That's fine for demonstrating this use case. So let's go forward. It's going to ask me, do you want to include initial donation fee? I'll say in this case, no. And then I'll go ahead and create the form. All right, so let's take a look what happened here. I'm going to click on my form just to take a look at how it looks. This is just going to be our super basic out-of-the-box form. Okay, I have an event form that now is at $0 value. Now I'm going to need to select one. I want quantity of one. And I can see there is no payment block because my sponsorship ticket is at $0 value. Now, if I go ahead and press the submit button, you can see here it says the minimum donation amount is $5. So that tells me there's probably a configuration within that form that I need to toggle off. So let me go back in here. Let me see here under advanced. I see here that I have informs minimum amount toggled on. So I'm going to toggle that off. Now, I think this is something that you guys can actually configure like across system, and I'll show you where that is. I think it's something that you may set up when you're just getting your instance during the implementation process. And for some folks, this may be not something that's configured, so you may not run into this. But just as an FYI, so I'm going to toggle that off. I don't want to enforce a minimum donation amount because I know I'm not asking for a donation here. So in this case, let me see if my form looks any different or works any different, rather. All right, so this should work now. I'm going to select one ticket. My information is already populated. If I click that submit button, it's a success. My payment block was not appearing because my event ticket was $0 value. All right. And if you were curious about where you input the minimum donation amount across the system, I do believe it is around account settings and configuration. It might be, let me just see, transactions. I think that's where it is. So you can see here in my case, whoops, let me go back to this. Yeah, default minimum charge amount, $5. Minimum donation amount is $5. So I'm not sure if this is by default, but it's certainly something you can change for your organization. All right. Well, I hope that, let me see if we have any more questions here.
Do you have a second, Maliha? Madison asked if you could demonstrate again how to sync the calendars.
Absolutely. Yes, I totally can. All right. So let's go back. And I'm assuming she means globally, not just on an activity level. So let's go back to our people application. So we're going to go to people. We're going to go to our activities. And we're going to see this sync calendar option. Okay. For me, this option is already enabled. For you, it may be disabled, so you just need to toggle it on. And what that will do is it will generate this URL. You may need to save it for it to generate the URL, but it should come up fairly easily. Then I'm going to grab this URL. Let me just make sure. All right, let me just finish with sync calendar and then I'll address the other questions. All right, so I'm going to take this on, copy this, and then assuming I'm using Outlook, let me pull up my Outlook again here. All right, and I believe, we can share some helps. Uzo, if you have some Help Center content ready where we share these instructions, I think that may be helpful for the audience as well. All right, so I am in my Outlook here. Obviously, your interface is going to look different if you're using Gmail. So I'm going to select calendar, and there's an add feature from Internet. If I paste my URL here and click OK, what that does, it adds another calendar option here. You can see that this new option just appeared, CharityEngine Foundation. And so, oh, there's my call with Julie. Call Julie to have tasty lunch. Julie, you are paying.
I'm on it.
And there you go. All right. So that's that. I hope that was helpful. And then I see that we have another. Let me just get out of here. I have another question.
How to put in the volunteer post types is a question.
How to put in volunteer post types. So that's pretty easy. So if you go to events. Again, we're going to the volunteers tower. And again, sometimes if you don't want to, everybody feels differently about whether or not they like to use these drop downs. If it's easier for you to just go to your dashboard and see all your options available, you can do that. So I can see here all my volunteer tower options. So you can see post types here. And this is where you would enter your post types. I can see all the ones that I have. Yeah. So you would just click the plus sign. So if you're new to the platform, just a general kind of guidance is that if you're adding something, this plus sign is usually your safest bet. If I'm on a volunteer listing screen and I want to add a volunteer, it's going to be the plus sign. If I'm on a transaction listing screen, I want to add a new transaction, it's the plus sign.
Okay. And I don't know if this is a question or if you just have a response. Amy said it would be nice if they didn't have to select a ticket quantity as the default on the free event registration web form. She said we hide it on our forms. I don't know if there's an option to change that.
I think there is an option to hide it. It may just require a little bit of customization. There's certainly an option to do that.
And then one other thing, this is a little bit embarrassing, but Madison had asked about adding time if it populates the volunteer tab, and Uzo said it does, and Uzo came back and said we tested it and it is not syncing, just exactly like Madison said. So we are looking into that and we will get that fixed. So apologies to you, Madison. You were right and we were wrong.
Sorry, could you just say, are we talking about from the volunteer post?
The time input isn't auto-populating on the volunteer tab. I can go back through the questions.
Yeah. So are we talking about the contact record or the volunteer post? Maybe there is a little bit of a hiccup here, but I do. All right. Looks like Madison, pardon me. Madison is saying, no worries. Thank you for looking into it. Okay. Sounds good. Any more questions? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I hope this was helpful. I'm certainly very excited to have shown you these upgrades to volunteer management, event tickets, and calendar sync capabilities. Thank you for joining us. Our next product showcase date is not determined, is to be determined, but most likely it's going to be last Thursday of the month. Look out for that invite. And as always, we hope to see you. And please keep the feedback loop busy and submitting and providing your feedback to us. Thank you so much. Oh, we have Andrea saying, wait.
We have a wait.
Don't leave. You didn't pay for lunch, Julie.
I know. There's more to cover.
All right. Let's see. Andrea is putting in another comment or a chat. The location of the volunteer post is not working. All right, Andrea, I'm going to have support reach out to you and see if we can help you out with that. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.
Okay, guys. Bye.